For 8 years, the same mysterious package has appeared on Sarah Chen Musk's doorstep in Austin, Texas. No return address. No note, just her name written in familiar handwriting and a date that changed her life forever. March 24 packages in total. Never opened. Never explained. Until now. What started as a painful reminder of a failed marriage to one of the world's most famous men has become the key to understanding a love story that the media got completely wrong. Because the truth about why Elon Musk has been sending these gifts for nearly a decade isn't what anyone expected. And when Sarah finally opens the first box, she discovers that some secrets are worth waiting 8 years to reveal. Sarah Chen Musk stood frozen on her front porch in Austin, Texas, staring at the brown package by her feet. Her coffee mug trembled in her hands as she read her name written in familiar handwriting across the plain wrapper. March 15, 2024. The same date. Always the same date. For 8 years, this package had appeared on her doorstep like clockwork. No return address. No delivery truck she ever saw. Just a brown box sitting there when she opened her door each morning, waiting like a secret she wasn't ready to unlock. "Mom." Maya's voice called from inside their cozy 2-story house. "Everything okay out there?" Sarah picked up the package with shaking hands. It was light, about the size of a shoebox, wrapped in plain brown paper, exactly like all the others. "Just getting the mail, sweetheart," Sarah called back, her voice barely steady. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Their house smelled like pancakes and vanilla coffee. Normal Saturday morning smells that made her feel safe. The living room was filled with Maya's soccer trophies and Sarah's engineering books. Pictures of mother and daughter covered the walls, showing 8 years of life in Austin. 8 years of building something new after everything fell apart. Maya appeared in the hallway, still in her pajamas. At 16, she was tall and graceful, with her father's bright green eyes and curious mind. She looked at the package in her mother's hands with interest, not surprise. "Is that from Dad again?" Sarah nodded. She walked to the kitchen and set the package on the table next to yesterday's mail. And Maya's homework. The morning light streaming through the windows made the brown paper look almost golden. "Are you going to open it this time?" Maya asked, sitting across from her mother. Sarah stared at the package. In her bedroom closet, 24 identical boxes sat stacked like secrets. 3 packages every year for 8 years. She had never opened a single one. "I don't know," Sarah whispered. Maya reached across the table and touched her mother's hand. "Mom, don't you want to know what's inside?" Of course she wanted to know. For 8 years, she had wondered. But wanting to know and being ready to know were two different things entirely. Sarah remembered the day her divorce became final. March 15, 2016. She had sat in a courtroom in Los Angeles, signing papers that ended her marriage to one of the most famous men in the world. The media had painted her as a gold digger who married Elon Musk for his money. They said she was nobody special, just a NASA engineer who got lucky. But they were wrong. Sarah had fallen in love with Elon's dreams, not his bank account. She loved how his eyes lit up when he talked about Mars. She loved how he stayed up all night solving problems that could change the world. She loved him completely. The problem was that he loved his work more than he loved her. "Why do you think he keeps sending them?" Maya asked, pulling Sarah back to the present. Sarah looked at her daughter's hopeful face. Maya had been only 8 when the divorce happened. She barely remembered living in the big house in California. She didn't remember the private jets or fancy cars. She only remembered the fighting, the tears, and the day her father moved out. "I honestly don't know, sweetheart." The first package had arrived exactly 1 year after their divorce. Sarah thought it was a mistake at first. Maybe something she had ordered online that got delayed. But there was no return address, no receipt, nothing but her name written in Elon's careful handwriting. Then another package came 3 months later. Then another 3 months after that. Always on the 15th of the month. Always the same size. Always unmarked except for her address. Sarah had tried to contact Elon once, 2 years ago. She called Tesla's main office, but they wouldn't put her through. She sent an email to his assistant, asking about the packages. No one ever replied. Maya stood up and walked to the window. Outside, their neighbor Mr. Rodriguez was working in his garden. humming a Spanish song. Their street was quiet and peaceful. Kids rode bikes on the sidewalk. Mrs. Peterson walked her little dog. This was their life now. Simple, safe, predictable. "Mom, I have an idea," Maya said, turning back to face her. Sarah looked up at her daughter. Maya had inherited more than just Elon's eyes. She had his determination too, and that look on her face that meant she was forming a plan. "What if we open one? Not this new one, but one of the old ones. Just to see what's inside." Sarah's heart started beating faster. For 8 years, she had wondered what those boxes contained. Were they gifts? Apologies? Reminders of their failed marriage? She was afraid to find out, but she was also tired of not knowing. "I need to think about it," Sarah said quietly. That afternoon, while Maya was at soccer practice, Sarah sat alone in her bedroom. She opened her closet and looked at the stack of brown boxes in the back corner. They were piled neatly behind her winter coats, like building blocks made of questions. She pulled out the first box, the one that had arrived in March 2017. It felt light in her hands, almost empty. She shook it gently. Something small moved inside, but it didn't rattle like jewelry or sound like electronics. For a moment, Sarah considered tearing off the brown paper right there. But something stopped her. Once she opened one box, she would want to open them all. And once she knew what was inside, there would be no going back to not knowing. Sarah put the box back and closed the closet door. That evening, she and Maya made dinner together. Spaghetti with meat sauce, Maya's favorite. They talked about school and friends and weekend plans. Normal things, safe things. But all through dinner, Sarah's eyes kept drifting to the newest package sitting on the kitchen counter. "You're thinking about the box," Maya said, following her mother's gaze. "Maybe. What are you afraid of?" Sarah considered the question. What was she afraid of? "I'm afraid of being pulled back into a world I chose to leave. I'm afraid of remembering things I've worked hard to forget. I'm afraid of hoping for something that can never happen. But what if it's something good? What if Dad is trying to tell you something important?" Sarah looked at her daughter's earnest face. Maya loved their quiet life in Austin, but Sarah knew she sometimes wondered about her father. Elon sent birthday cards and Christmas presents. He paid child support without being asked, but he had never tried to be part of their daily lives. Until now. These mysterious packages felt different. They felt like someone trying to say something they couldn't put into words. After dinner, Sarah lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Through the walls, she could hear Maya talking on the phone with her best friend Jessica about boys and homework and weekend plans. Normal teenage sounds that made Sarah smile. But she couldn't stop thinking about those 25 brown boxes. 24 in her closet. One waiting on the kitchen table downstairs. At midnight, Sarah got up and walked to the kitchen. The newest package sat where they had left it, innocent and mysterious in the moonlight streaming through the window. She picked it up and held it close to her chest. It was warm from sitting in the sun all day. She closed her eyes and tried to imagine what might be inside. A letter? A photo? Something that would explain 8 years of silence, broken only by these cryptic deliveries? Sarah opened her eyes and looked out the kitchen window. The stars were bright above Austin's skyline. She wondered if Elon was looking at the same stars from wherever he was tonight. She wondered if he was thinking about Mars or rockets or the future of humanity. Most of all, she wondered if he ever thought about the 2 years they had shared and why those years still mattered enough to send mysterious packages to the woman who used to be his wife. "Tomorrow," Sarah whispered to the empty kitchen. "Tomorrow I'll decide." She put the package back on the table and returned to bed. But sleep didn't come easily. Her dreams were filled with brown boxes and memories she had spent 8 years trying to forget. The next morning, Maya found her mother sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee and staring at the package. "Did you decide?" Maya asked, pouring herself a glass of orange juice. Sarah took a deep breath. After a sleepless night of thinking, she had finally made up her mind. The wondering was worse than knowing could ever be. "Yes," she said quietly. "We're going to open one." Maya's eyes widened with excitement. "Really? Which one?" "Not this new one. We'll start with the first one. The one from..." Maya grinned and ran upstairs to get the box from the closet. When she returned, both women sat at the kitchen table, the mysterious package between them like a bridge to the past. "Whatever's inside," Sarah said, "it doesn't change anything. We're happy here. This is our life." Maya nodded solemnly. "I know, Mom." Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for the box. 8 years of wondering was about to end. 8 years of questions might finally have answers. "Ready?" she asked. Maya leaned forward eagerly. "Ready." Sarah took a deep breath and began to peel away the tape that had sealed her past inside a simple brown box. Sarah's fingers worked slowly at the brown tape, as if moving too fast might break whatever spell had kept these secrets safe for so long. Maya held her breath beside her, watching every careful movement. The paper came away in neat strips, revealing a plain white box underneath. It looked like something from a jewelry store, but bigger. Sarah lifted the lid with trembling hands. Inside, wrapped in soft white tissue paper, was something she never expected to see. "Oh my gosh," Maya whispered. It was a snow globe. But not just any snow globe. Inside the clear glass dome was a perfect tiny copy of Sarah's old apartment in Hawthorne, California. The apartment where she had lived when she first met Elon 9 years ago. Sarah picked up the globe with shaking hands. Every detail was perfect. The small red bicycle she used to ride to work at NASA. The tiny window boxes where she grew herbs. Even the crooked mailbox that the landlord never fixed. When she turned the globe upside down, fake snow swirled around the little house like magic. At the bottom, engraved in small silver letters, were the words March 15, 2015, the day everything changed. "What happened on March 15, 2015? Maya asked softly. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "That's the day your father first told me he loved me." The memory hit her like a wave. It was a Sunday morning in March. She had been dating Elon for 6 months. But he was always careful with his words. He had been married twice before, and divorced twice. His heart had walls around it higher than any rocket he had ever built. That morning, Sarah was making pancakes in her tiny kitchen. The batter was lumpy because she was never good at cooking. Elon sat at her small table, reading news on his phone, and complaining about some article that criticized Tesla. "You know," Sarah had said, laughing as she flipped a crooked pancake, "for the smartest man I know, you sure worry about dumb things." Elon looked up from his phone. The morning sun was coming through her window, making Sarah's black hair shine. She was wearing his old SpaceX shirt that was too big for her and mismatched socks. She had flour on her cheek and was humming off-key while she cooked. "I love you," he said suddenly. Sarah dropped her spatula. It clattered on the floor. "What?" "I love you, Sarah Chen. I love that you call me an idiot when I'm being an idiot. I love that you understand rockets, and computers, and dreams. I love that you make terrible pancakes, and sing off-key and steal my shirts." Sarah had started crying right there in the kitchen. Not sad tears, but happy ones. The kind of tears that come when something wonderful happens that you never saw coming. "I love you too," she had whispered. "You crazy, brilliant man." Now sitting in her Austin kitchen 9 years later, Sarah was crying again. But these tears were different. They were happy and sad and confused, all mixed together. "Mom, this is so beautiful," Maya said gently. He remembered the exact date. Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Your father has a mind like a computer. He remembers everything. But why make it into a snow globe?" Sarah shook the globe again, watching the white flakes fall around their old apartment. "I think because that day felt magical. Like we were living in our own little perfect world." Maya picked up the empty box and looked inside for a note or letter. There was nothing. Just the snow globe, and its mysterious message carved in silver. "Should we open another one?" Maya asked. Sarah looked toward the living room, where Maya had brought down all 24 boxes from the closet. They sat in neat stacks on the couch, waiting. "One more," Sarah said. "Then we stop for today." They chose the second box, the one that had arrived 3 months later in June 2017. This one felt a little heavier in Sarah's hands. Inside was another snow globe, but the scene was completely different. This globe showed a small white church in Nevada. Sarah gasped when she saw it. It was the exact church where she and Elon had been married in 2014. Every detail was perfect, from the wooden doors to the bell tower to the desert mountains in the background. Inside the dome, tiny figures stood at the altar. A bride in a simple white dress and a groom in a black suit. Sarah could almost see herself and Elon on their wedding day. Young and hopeful and certain they could make it work. The engraving on this globe read June 12, 2014. The day we promised forever. That's your wedding date, Maya said. Yes, Sarah whispered. She remembered that day like it was yesterday. She had worn a simple white dress she bought at a regular store, not some fancy designer shop. Elon wore a black suit and kept forgetting his wedding vows. They had to start over 3 times because he kept getting distracted by some new idea for his Hyperloop project. Only 12 people came to their wedding. Sarah's parents flew in from San Francisco. Elon's mother came from South Africa. It was small and simple and perfect. Why did you and Dad get divorced? Maya asked. It was a question she had asked before, but Sarah had always given simple answers. We grew apart. We wanted different things. Sometimes love isn't enough. But now, holding these beautiful snow globes that proved how much Elon remembered about their relationship, Sarah wondered if her daughter deserved more truth. Your father is a genius, Sarah began slowly. But geniuses can be hard to live with. He would work 100 hours a week. He would disappear into his projects and forget about everything else, including us. But you knew that when you married him, right? I thought I could handle it. I thought love would be enough. But Maya, it's hard to be married to someone who's trying to save the world. There's no room left for small things like family dinners or bedtime stories or just sitting together watching movies. Maya nodded thoughtfully. But he did love you, right? These globes prove he loved you. Sarah looked at the 2 snow globes sitting on the table. 2 perfect moments from their relationship, preserved forever in glass and fake snow and silver words. Yes, she said quietly. He loved me. That was never the question. Then why? Love isn't always enough, sweetheart. Sometimes 2 people can love each other completely and still not be able to make it work. Maya picked up the wedding globe and shook it gently. The snow fell around the little church like confetti on a happy day that felt like a lifetime ago. Do you think all the boxes have snow globes in them? Sarah studied the remaining packages stacked in their living room. I don't know, maybe. Do you think they tell a story? Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't thought of that possibility. What if the globes weren't just random memories? What if Elon had arranged them in order, telling the complete story of their relationship from beginning to end? And if that was true, what story would the last few boxes tell? The fights? The divorce? The years of silence? Or something else entirely? I think, Sarah said slowly, we need to find out. Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. Really? We can open more? Sarah looked at the 2 globes on the table, then at the stack of mysterious boxes waiting in the other room. After 8 years of wondering, she was finally ready to know the truth. Tomorrow, she said, tomorrow we'll open more. And we'll see what story your father has been trying to tell me all these years. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept getting up to look at the 2 snow globes sitting on her nightstand. In the moonlight, they looked like tiny windows into her past. Windows into a love that had been real and deep, and ultimately not enough to survive the pressures of loving someone whose dreams were bigger than any one person could handle. But as she drifted off to sleep, Sarah found herself wondering if Elon had taken the time to create these beautiful, detailed reminders of their love story. What did that mean? And more importantly, what was he trying to tell her? Over the next 3 days, Sarah and Maya created a new morning routine. Before Maya left for school, they would open 1 box together. When Maya came home in the afternoon, they would open another. Each snow globe was like a chapter in a book they were reading together. Page by page. The 3rd box contained a globe of SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. Inside the dome, tiny workers moved around a miniature rocket. The detail was incredible. Sarah could even see the small cafeteria where she and Elon used to eat lunch together. The engraving read, September 28, 2014. The day you believed in me. Sarah remembered this date perfectly. It was the day after a Falcon 9 rocket had exploded during launch. The whole world watched as millions of dollars went up in flames. The news media was brutal. Some people called Elon a dreamer who was wasting money on impossible projects. Sarah had found him in his office at 3 in the morning, sitting alone in the dark. Computer screens glowed around him, showing pictures of the destroyed rocket. "Maybe they're right," he had said without looking up. "Maybe I'm just a rich guy playing with toy rockets." Sarah sat on the edge of his desk. "Do you remember what you told me on our first date? About why you started SpaceX?" Elon finally looked at her. His eyes were red from no sleep and too much stress. "You said humans need to live on more than one planet to survive," Sarah continued. "You said someone has to build the rockets that will take us to Mars. And you said if not you, then who? But what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wasting years of people's lives chasing something impossible?" Sarah took his face in her hands. "Elon Musk, you are not wrong. Yes, you're trying to do something no one has ever done before. Yes, you're going to fail sometimes. But failing doesn't make you a failure. It makes you a pioneer." 3 months later, SpaceX landed a rocket back on Earth for the first time in history. Elon called Sarah from Mission Control, shouting over the cheers of his team, "We did it! We actually did it!" The fourth box made Sarah's heart hurt. Inside was a globe showing a hospital room. The walls were pale green, and a small bed sat in the center. Sarah knew this room. She had spent 3 terrible days there. In November, the engraving read, "November 15, 2015, the day we lost everything and found hope." "What's this one about?" Maya asked, studying the hospital scene. Sarah had never told Maya about the miscarriage. She wasn't sure how to explain losing a baby that Maya never knew existed. "We lost a baby," Sarah said simply. "Before you came into our lives, we lost a baby." Maya's eyes grew wide. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't know. It happened when we had been married for a year. I was 3 months pregnant when I lost the baby. Your father and I were so excited. We had already started painting a nursery. The loss had nearly destroyed their marriage." Sarah fell into a deep sadness that lasted for months. Elon buried himself in work even more than usual. For weeks they barely spoke to each other. But one night, Sarah found Elon crying in the empty nursery. He was holding tiny baby shoes they had bought at a store in Beverly Hills. "I'm sorry," he whispered when he saw her. "I'm sorry I haven't been here for you. I don't know how to handle this kind of pain." They held each other and cried together for the first time since losing the baby. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. "If that baby had lived," Sarah told Maya, "we might never have adopted you." Maya nodded thoughtfully. Sarah and Elon had adopted Maya when she was 3 days old. A teenage mother in Texas couldn't keep her baby, and Sarah and Elon were chosen to be her parents. Sarah fell in love with Maya the moment she held her. Elon was more nervous. He already had 5 sons from his first marriage, and he wasn't sure he could love another child the same way. But the first night Maya came home, she wouldn't stop crying. Sarah was exhausted from the long adoption process. At 4 in the morning, Elon found them both in the nursery, Sarah crying as hard as the baby. "Here," Elon said gently, taking Maya from Sarah's arms. "Go get some sleep." When Sarah woke up 6 hours later, Elon was still in the nursery. Maya slept peacefully in his arms, while he sang softly about rockets and stars. "I love her," he said when he noticed Sarah watching. "I love her like she's been mine forever." The pattern continued. As they opened more boxes, each snow globe captured a different moment from their relationship. Some were happy memories, their first Christmas together the day Elon proposed, Sarah's graduation from MIT. Others were harder to look at. Missed dinners, forgotten anniversaries, nights when Elon slept at the office instead of coming home. By Friday afternoon, they had opened 12 boxes, exactly half of all the packages Elon had sent. Snow globes covered their entire kitchen table, arranged in order like a timeline of love and loss. "It's like a museum," Maya said, studying the collection. "The museum of Mom and Dad's marriage." Sarah nodded. Each globe was perfect and expensive. Someone had spent a lot of time and money creating these tiny worlds. But more than that, someone had remembered. Someone cared enough to preserve these moments forever. "Do you think Dad made these himself?" Maya asked. "No. He probably hired someone. You know your father, he has people for everything." But even as she said it, Sarah wondered. The details in each globe were so specific and personal. The red bicycle in her old apartment. the exact flowers from their wedding, the way the hospital room had been arranged. Only Elon would remember these tiny details. Only Elon would think to preserve them this way. That evening, Maya had plans with friends, leaving Sarah alone with the snow globes. She sat at the kitchen table as darkness fell outside, studying each miniature world by lamplight. The globes told a clear story. The first few showed the beginning of their relationship meeting, falling in love, getting married. The middle ones showed their happy times as a married couple, but the later ones began to show cracks in their perfect world. There was a globe showing Elon's office late at night, with a tiny figure working alone while his family waited at home. Another showed Sarah sitting by herself at a restaurant, checking her phone for a message that never came. Sarah picked up that globe and shook it. The snow fell around the lonely figure like tears. What would the remaining 12 globes show? The fights that ended their marriage? The divorce papers? The day she and Maya moved out? At 10 o'clock, Sarah made a decision. She was tired of waiting, tired of drawing out the mystery. Tomorrow was Saturday. She and Maya would open all the remaining boxes at once. After 8 years of questions, it was time to learn the whole truth. It was time to find out what story Elon Musk had been trying to tell her, one snow globe at a time. Sarah gathered the 12 unopened boxes from the living room and brought them to the kitchen table. They sat beside the open globes like promises waiting to be kept. "Tomorrow," she whispered to the empty room. "Tomorrow, I'll finally understand." Outside her window, the stars shone bright over Austin. Somewhere out there, Elon was probably looking at the same stars, planning his next mission to Mars or designing a new electric car. But Sarah wondered if he was also thinking about a woman in Texas who was finally ready to hear whatever message he had been sending for 8 long years. The snow globes glittered in the lamplight, holding their secrets safe, until morning came and the truth could finally be revealed. Saturday morning arrived gray and cloudy. Unusual weather for Austin in March. Sarah woke to find Maya already in the kitchen, making coffee and arranging the remaining 12 boxes on the counter in perfect rows. "I couldn't sleep either," Maya said when she saw her mother. "I kept thinking about what might be in these last boxes." Sarah nodded. She had tossed and turned all night, her mind spinning with possibilities. Part of her was excited to finally solve the mystery. Part of her was terrified of what painful memories the remaining globes might contain. "Are you ready?" Maya asked, holding the 13th box. Sarah took a deep breath and sat down at the kitchen table. The first 12 snow globes were still arranged in order, telling the story of a love that had started beautiful and slowly began to crack. "Let's find out," Sarah said. Maya handed her the 13th box. Sarah opened it quickly this time, like ripping off a bandage. Inside was another snow globe, but this one made her stomach hurt. The scene showed Elon's office at Tesla headquarters in Palo Alto. Inside the dome, a tiny figure sat at a desk covered with papers and computer screens. There were no windows in the miniature office, no clocks, no signs of the outside world, just work. The engraving read, August 10th, 2015. The day work became more important than us. Sarah remembered this day with sharp, painful clarity. It was their first wedding anniversary. Elon had promised to take her to dinner at the little Italian restaurant where they had their first date. Sarah spent the whole afternoon getting ready, wearing the same blue dress from that magical night a year earlier. But 7 o'clock came and went with no Elon. Then 8 o'clock. Then 9. Finally, Sarah drove to Tesla's headquarters. She found him in his office, completely lost in solving some problem with car batteries. He had forgotten their anniversary entirely. "How could you forget?" Sarah asked, standing in his doorway in her beautiful dress. Elon looked up from his computer screens, confused. Then his face went pale as he realized what day it was. "Oh no. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Give me 10 minutes to finish this, and 10 minutes?" Sarah's voice cracked. "It's been 3 hours, Elon. 3 hours I've been waiting for my husband to remember that we got married. I can explain. There's this problem with the battery cooling system." "No, you can't explain, because there is no explanation that makes this okay." Sarah had turned and walked away, leaving Elon calling after her in the parking lot. That night marked the beginning of the end for their marriage. The 14th globe showed their house in Bel Air, but something was wrong with the scene. Half the house was dark and empty, while the other half blazed with light. It looked like 2 different families lived there. The engraving read December 25, 2015, the day we started living separate lives. Christmas morning. Maya was 8 years old and so excited about the presents under the tree. Sarah had spent weeks planning the perfect family Christmas special breakfast. Christmas movies, time together as a family. But Elon spent the entire morning on the phone with his team in China, pacing around the house while discussing some urgent problem with battery production. His voice echoed through their beautiful home as he talked about voltage and temperature controls. Sarah and Maya opened presents alone while Elon worked. When Maya asked if Daddy was going to join them, Sarah had to force a smile and say, "Maybe later, sweetheart." Later never came. The 15th and 16th globes were even harder to look at. One showed Sarah eating dinner alone at a fancy restaurant, checking her phone for a text that never arrived. Another showed Elon asleep on his office couch instead of in their bed at home. Each globe marked another crack in their marriage, another day when work mattered more than family. By the time they reached the 18th globe, Maya was crying softly. "This is so sad," she said, wiping her eyes. "It's like watching your marriage die in slow motion." The 18th globe showed a courtroom. Inside the dome, tiny figures sat at separate tables, a judge, lawyers, and a man and woman who couldn't look at each other anymore. The engraving read, March 15, 2016, the day we said goodbye. Their divorce had been finalized on March 15, 2016, exactly 1 year before the first mysterious package arrived. The date wasn't chosen by accident. It was the same date Elon had first told Sarah he loved her. The same date that had once meant everything to them. Sarah picked up the courtroom globe and stared at the tiny figures inside. She could almost see herself and Elon on that terrible day, signing papers that ended their marriage while lawyers discussed money and custody schedules. "I don't understand," Maya said. "If these globes make him remember all the bad times, why does he keep making them? Why does he send them to you?" Sarah didn't have an answer. The globes had started as beautiful memories but had turned into painful reminders of failure and loss. Why would Elon want to preserve the worst moments of their relationship? Unless he was trying to tell her something else entirely. "Maya, what if we're looking at this wrong?" "What do you mean? What if these aren't just memories? What if they're, I don't know, some kind of apology? Like he's saying he remembers all the times he hurt us?" Maya considered this. Like he's admitting he knows why the marriage failed? Maybe. Or maybe he's trying to show me that he understands what went wrong. They continued opening boxes with new curiosity. The 19th globe showed Elon's first successful rocket landing, a moment of triumph that Sarah had believed in when everyone else doubted him. But in this scene, he celebrated alone in mission control while his family watched from far away. The engraving read, April 8, 2016, the day I succeeded without you. The 20th globe broke Sarah's heart completely. It showed Maya's bedroom in their old Bel Air house, but the room was half empty. Boxes were stacked in corners, and a small suitcase sat on the bed. The engraving read, June 22, 2016, the day I lost my family. That was the day Sarah and Maya had moved out of the big house. Maya cried for a week afterward, missing her huge bedroom and the swimming pool and the housekeeper who made her favorite chocolate chip cookies. "I remember that day," Maya said quietly. "I was so angry at you for making us leave." "I know you were, sweetheart. I'm sorry it was so hard." "I understand now," Maya said. "You had to leave. Dad wasn't really there anyway, even when he was home." The 21st and 22nd globes showed more scenes of aftermath. Empty rooms where a family used to live. Birthday parties with missing chairs. Thanksgiving dinners for 2 instead of 3. Finally, they reached the 23rd box. Sarah's hands shook as she opened it, knowing they were almost at the end of Elon's story. Inside was a snow globe unlike all the others. Instead of showing a scene from their past together, this globe showed Sarah and Maya's current house in Austin. Their modest 2-story home with its small front yard and white picket fence. Every detail was perfect. The color of their front door, the flowers Sarah had planted last spring, even his swing set in the backyard where Maya used to play when they first moved to Texas. The engraving read, March 15, 2017, the day I realized you were happier without me. Sarah gasped. How did he know where we moved? How did he know what our house looked like? The detail in the globe was incredible. Someone had been watching them, learning about their new life far from California, and rockets and the chaos of being married to Elon Musk. Is that creepy or romantic? Maya asked. I honestly don't know, Sarah said. There was one box left, the 24th and final package, the one that had arrived just this week. Sarah's heart pounded as she looked at it. Whatever was inside this last box would finally explain why Elon Musk had been sending mysterious gifts to his ex-wife for 8 long years. Together? Maya asked, putting her hand on the box next to her mother's. Sarah nodded. Together. They lifted the lid of the final box, and Sarah's world changed forever. The final box didn't contain a snow globe. Instead, Sarah found a small white envelope with her name written across it in Elon's careful handwriting. Underneath the envelope was a plane ticket to Los Angeles and a hotel reservation for tonight. What does the letter say? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of expensive paper with a message written in blue ink. Sarah, if you're reading this, you've opened all 24 boxes. I wasn't sure you ever would. For 8 years, I've been trying to find the right words to tell you something important. But I'm better with rockets than with feelings. Better with math than with emotions. The snow globes were my way of showing you that I remember everything about our time together. Not just the good moments, but the bad ones too. Especially the bad ones. I remember every time I chose work over you. Every dinner I missed. Every anniversary I forgot. Every night I slept at the office instead of coming home to you and Maya. I remember the look on your face when you realized our marriage was over. I remember the sound of Maya Kaya when you moved out. I remember standing in our empty house, finally understanding what I had lost. You were right to leave me, Sarah. You deserved better than a husband who treated his family like another project to manage between rocket launches. But here's what I need you to know. Losing you was the worst failure of my life. Worse than any exploded rocket or recalled car or stock market crash. Losing my family taught me something no business school could teach me. That success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. I've spent the last 8 years trying to become the man you deserve to marry. I've learned to say no to meetings. I've learned to turn off my phone during dinner. I've learned that being the smartest person in the room doesn't matter if you're eating alone. I know I have no right to ask this after everything I put you through. I know you've built a good life in Austin, and Maya is happy and healthy and becoming an amazing young woman. But if there's any part of you that remembers why we fell in love, if there's any chance you might want to try again, I'll be waiting at the restaurant where we had our first date. Tonight at 8 o'clock. If you don't come, I'll understand. I'll stop sending packages and let you live your life in peace. But if you do come, well, maybe we can start a new collection of memories. Better ones this time. I love you, Sarah Chen. I never stop. Elon. Sarah read the letter 3 times before the words fully sank in. After 8 years of silence, 8 years of mysterious gifts, Elon wanted to see her. Tonight. Mom, what does it say? Maya asked again. Sarah handed her the letter with shaking hands. Maya read quickly, her eyes growing wider with each sentence. Oh my gosh. Dad wants you to come to Los Angeles tonight. Sarah looked at the plane ticket. The flight left Austin at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It was already noon. Are you gonna go? Maya asked. Sarah didn't answer right away. She looked around their cozy kitchen at the coffee maker she used every morning, at the pictures of Maya's soccer team on the refrigerator, at the simple, peaceful life they had built together. I don't know, she said honestly. Do you still love him? That was the question Sarah had been avoiding for 8 years. Do you still love the man who broke your heart? Do you still love the man who chose his dreams over your marriage? Love was never the problem, Sarah said finally. I loved your father when I married him. I loved him when I divorced him. I probably love him right now. Then why are you scared to see him? Sarah looked at her 16-year-old daughter. So wise, so brave, so certain that love could fix anything. At Maya's age, Sarah had believed that too. Because love isn't enough, Sarah explained. I learned that the hard way. You can love someone with all your heart and still not be able to live with them. But what if he's changed? What if he really learned from his mistakes? Sarah thought about the snow globes arranged on their table. Each one represented a memory Elon had preserved, a lesson he had learned, a moment he wished he could do differently. What if he hasn't changed? Sarah asked. What if he's still the same man who forgot our anniversary, who missed your school plays, who chose work over family every single time? Maya stood up and walked to the window. Outside, their quiet street was peaceful. Mr. Rodriguez was working in his garden. Mrs. Peterson walked her small dog. This was their life now. Safe, predictable, calm. Mom, can I tell you something? Of course. I love our life here. I love our house and my school and my friends. I love that you're happy most of the time. Sarah nodded. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have a real dad. Not just someone who sends birthday cards and money. Someone who actually shows up. Sarah's heart broke a little. She had worked so hard to give Maya a stable, loving home, but she couldn't give her a father who was present and involved. And what if Dad really has changed? Maya continued. What if he's learned how to put family first? Shouldn't you at least find out? Sarah picked up the plane ticket again. Los Angeles. Their old life. Their old mistakes waiting to be repeated. What if I go and he's exactly the same? Sarah asked. What if this is just another one of his big gestures that doesn't mean anything real? Then you come home tonight and we never talk about it again, Maya said simply. But Mom, what if he really is different? What if this is your chance to have the family you always wanted? Sarah looked at the 24 snow globes spread across their kitchen table. A complete record of a love story that had ended badly, but maybe didn't have to stay ended forever. The clock on the wall showed 12:30. If she was going to catch that flight, she needed to decide now. Sarah thought about the letter. About 8 years of mysterious gifts. About a man who remembered every detail of their relationship and had spent nearly a decade trying to become worthy of a second chance. She thought about Maya, who deserved to know her father as more than a distant figure who existed only in birthday cards and child support checks. Most of all, she thought about herself. About the woman who had been brave enough to fall in love with a genius, brave enough to leave when that love wasn't enough, and maybe brave enough to try again. At 12:45, Sarah made her decision. Help me pack, she told Maya. Maya's face lit up with excitement. Really? You're going? I'm going, Sarah said. I don't know what will happen, but I need to find out. As they rushed upstairs to pack a small bag, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in 8 years. Hope mixed with terror, the feeling of standing at the edge of a cliff, not knowing if the jump would end in flight or in falling. But maybe. Sometimes the only way to find out if you can fly is to be brave enough to leap. The small Italian restaurant in Hawthorne looked exactly the same as it did 9 years ago. Same red checkered tablecloths, same Frank Sinatra music playing softly overhead, same smell of garlic and fresh bread filling the warm air. Sarah arrived at 7:45, 15 minutes early because she was always on time and because she needed a few minutes to calm her racing heart. She wore a simple blue dress, not the same one from their first date, but close enough to send a message. The hostess seated her at the corner table where she and Elon had sat in 2014, back when he was just a brilliant man she had met at a SpaceX meeting and she was just a NASA engineer who made him laugh. Sarah ordered a glass of red wine and checked her phone. No messages from Maya, who had decided to stay with her best friend Jessica for the weekend. No messages from Elon either. At exactly 8 o'clock, the restaurant door opened and Elon walked in. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. He looked older, gray hair at his temples, deeper lines around his eyes. But he was still tall and lean, still moved with that slightly awkward confidence that had first caught her attention years ago. He was carrying a small wrapped gift. Hi, he said simply, sliding into the seat across from her. Hi. For a moment, they just looked at each other. 8 years of silence stretched between them like an ocean neither knew how to cross. You came, Elon said, and Sarah could hear relief in his voice. I almost didn't. What changed your mind? Sarah thought about Maya's words, about the snow globes, about the letter that had explained 8 years of mysterious packages. Curiosity, I guess. I needed to see if you were really different or if this was just another one of your projects. Elon nodded slowly. That's fair. I deserve your doubt. The waiter approached their table to take Elon's drink order. Sarah expected him to ask for coffee. He always drank coffee, even late at night. But instead, he ordered water. No coffee? Sarah asked, surprised. I stopped drinking caffeine after 6 o'clock. It was keeping me awake, And I've learned that sleep is important for thinking clearly. Sarah raised an eyebrow. The workaholic she had married used to survive on 4 hours of sleep and endless cups of coffee. What else have you learned? She asked carefully. Elon placed the small gift on the table between them. That success without family is just expensive loneliness. That being right about rockets doesn't matter if you're wrong about love. That the smartest man in the world is still a fool if he can't figure out how to put his family first. Sarah stared at the wrapped gift. What's in there? The 25th snow globe. The one I hope we can create together. Elon, I know what you're thinking, he interrupted gently. You're thinking this is just another big gesture. Another way for me to try to solve problems with money and creativity instead of real change. Sarah nodded. That was exactly what she was thinking. You're probably right to think that. Elon continued. I have a history of making big promises and failing to keep them. But Sarah, I need you to know I've spent 8 years learning how to be the man you deserve to marry the first time. What does that mean exactly? Elon pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. See this? It's 8:15 on a Saturday night. My phone has been on silent since 6 o'clock. I have 47 missed calls and over 200 unread messages. There's probably a crisis at Tesla, an emergency at SpaceX, and at least 3 fires that need my attention. He slid the phone across the table to Sarah. But none of that matters right now. You matter. This conversation matters. Us figuring out if we have a future together. That's the only thing that matters. Sarah stared at the phone, remembering all the dinners that had been interrupted by urgent calls, all the family time that had been sacrificed for business emergencies. Anyone can ignore their phone for one evening, she said carefully. You're right. But I've learned to ask myself a different question now. Will the world actually end if I don't answer this call right now? Usually the answer is no. Elon reached across the table and gently took her hand. Sarah didn't pull away, but she didn't squeeze back either. I hired a president for Tesla and a chief operating officer for SpaceX, he continued. I've learned to delegate real responsibility to people I trust. I've learned that being the only person who can solve every problem isn't actually strength. It's a weakness that keeps you from having a life. Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for signs of the old Elon, the man who couldn't sit still, who always had one foot out the door, ready to rush off to the next emergency. What about Mars? She asked. What about changing the world? What about all those big dreams that were more important than our marriage? Elon's face grew serious. Mars will still be there in 50 years, Sarah. But Maya won't be a teenager forever. You won't be young forever. I won't live forever. I spent so many years trying to secure humanity's future that I forgot to live in the present with the people I love most. The waiter returned to take their dinner order. Sarah realized she hadn't even looked at the menu. But she ordered the chicken parmesan, the same dish she had ordered on their first date 9 years ago. Elon ordered the same pasta he had chosen that night too. You remember what we ordered 9 years ago? Sarah asked. I remember everything about that night. You wore a green dress and kept checking your phone because you were nervous. You ordered chicken parmesan but barely ate it because you were talking too much about your work at NASA and your dreams of designing spacecraft. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. You were supposed to be this scary genius billionaire, but you were more nervous than I was. I was terrified. Elon admitted, you were the first woman I'd met who understood both science and poetry, who could explain quantum physics and then cry at sad movies. I knew that night I was going to fall in love with you. And look how that turned out. We made beautiful memories, Sarah. Yes, I destroyed our marriage with my obsession with work. But we also had 2 years of real happiness. We created a family with Maya. We loved each other deeply. Sarah thought about the snow globes sitting on her kitchen table back in Austin, all those preserved moments, both wonderful and terrible. Why did you wait 8 years to contact me directly? She asked. Why not call or write a letter? Because I needed to prove to myself that I could actually change before I asked you to believe it. And because I was terrified that you would say no immediately. Elon picked up the small gift and slid it across the table. But I can't wait anymore, Sarah. Life is shorter than we think. And I've already wasted 8 years without you and Maya. Sarah stared at the wrapped box. What if this doesn't work? What if we try again and fail again? What if we hurt Maya by giving her hope that gets crushed? Then at least we'll know we tried. But Sarah, What if it does work? What if we've both grown enough to make it work this time? Sarah thought about Maya's words. What if this is your chance to have the family you always wanted? She thought about the quiet life they had built in Austin, safe and peaceful but sometimes lonely. Then she thought about the life they could build together, uncertain and challenging but full of possibility. Open it, Elon said softly. Sarah unwrapped the small box with trembling hands. Inside was another snow globe. But this one was different from all the others. The globe was empty except for two small figures standing in what looked like this very restaurant. It's us, Sarah whispered. Right now, tonight. The base of the globe was blank, waiting for an engraving that would depend on how this conversation ended. You're very confident about how this is going to go, Sarah said. I'm hopeful. But the globe is ready for any ending, good or bad. Sarah laughed despite herself. You really have thought of everything. I've had 8 years to plan this conversation. Their food arrived, but neither of them touched it. They sat in the restaurant where their love story had begun, holding a snow globe that represented either a new beginning or a final goodbye. Sarah, Elon said quietly, I know I hurt you. I know I failed as a husband and disappointed you as a partner. But I also know that what we had was real and rare and worth fighting for. Sarah looked at the empty snow globe, at the two tiny figures frozen in this moment of possibility. If we do this, she said slowly, if we try again, things have to be different, really different. They will be. I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago. Elon, I won't be content to be your wife in name only while you're married to your work. I won't raise Maya alone while you try to save the world. I understand, and Maya comes first. Always. Whatever this is between us, she has to come first. She does come first. She always has. I was just too blind to show it properly. Sarah took a deep breath. Outside the restaurant window, she could see the lights of Los Angeles stretching toward the ocean. Somewhere in that vast city was the life she used to have with this man. Somewhere in Austin was the life she had built without him. What exactly are you asking me, Elon? He reached across the table and took both her hands in his. I'm asking you to give us another chance. I'm asking you to let me prove that I've learned how to love you the right way this time. I'm asking you to believe that some stories deserve a second chapter. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Even the soft music seemed to quiet, waiting for her answer. Sarah looked into the eyes of the man she had loved and lost and never quite forgotten. The man who had broken her heart and then spent 8 years trying to earn forgiveness. The man who had remembered every detail of their relationship and preserved their story in tiny glass worlds. I need time to think, she said finally. Disappointment flickered across Elon's face, but he nodded. How much time? I don't know. This is the rest of my life we're talking about. Maya's life too. I understand. But Sarah, don't take too long. We've already lost 8 years. Sarah flew back to Austin the next morning with more questions than answers. The empty snow globe sat carefully wrapped in her carry-on bag, waiting for her decision to determine its meaning. Maya was waiting at the airport, practically bouncing with excitement and nervous energy. So, how did it go? What did he say? What did you say? Are you getting back together? Slow down, Sarah laughed, hugging her daughter tightly. It's complicated. During the drive home through Austin's familiar streets, Sarah told Maya about the dinner, about Elon's apology and his promises of change, about his request for a second chance at their marriage. He wants to remarry you, Maya squealed from the passenger seat. That's so romantic. It's not that simple, sweetheart. Why not? You love him. He loves you. He's sorry for being a workaholic. What's complicated about that? Sarah pulled into their driveway and turned off the car. Their modest house looked especially cozy after the fancy hotel in Los Angeles. Simple and safe and theirs. Maya, you were only 8 when we got divorced. You don't remember how bad things got near the end. But I remember before that too. I remember Dad teaching me to build model rockets in the garage. I remember him reading me bedtime stories about astronauts traveling to distant planets. I remember feeling like we were a real family. Sarah did remember those moments. For all his faults as a husband, Elon had been a loving father when he was present. The problem was that he was rarely present. Inside their house, the 24 snow globes were still arranged on the kitchen table like a museum of their past. Sarah sat down and picked up the first one, their apartment in Hawthorne, where their love story had begun. "What are you afraid of?" Maya asked, sitting beside her mother. Sarah considered the question honestly. What was she afraid of? "I'm afraid of believing he's changed and being wrong. I'm afraid of moving us back to California and disrupting your life here for another failed marriage. I'm afraid of putting you through another divorce if this doesn't work. But what if you're wrong about being wrong? What if he really has changed?" Sarah shook the snow globe, watching the fake snow swirl around their first home together. "Then I'm afraid of that too." "Why would you be afraid of him changing?" "Because if he's really changed, if he's really learned to put family first, then we might actually have a chance at happiness. And that's terrifying because I've gotten used to being disappointed. I know how to handle disappointment. I don't know how to handle hope." That evening, Sarah called her sister Lisa in San Francisco. "Wait, let me understand this," Lisa said over the phone. "Elon Musk has been sending you mysterious gifts for 8 years, and you never told me?" "I didn't tell anyone. I wasn't even sure why he was doing it. And now he wants to remarry you? That's what he says." "Sarah, do you remember how miserable you were at the end of your marriage? Do you remember calling me at 2 in the morning crying because you felt like a single mother even though you were married to one of the richest men in the world?" Sarah did remember. She remembered feeling invisible in her own marriage, competing with rockets and cars and the future of humanity for her husband's attention. "But what if he's really changed, Lisa? What if this is my second chance at the life I always wanted? Then you better be absolutely sure before you risk your heart again. And more importantly, before you risk Maya's heart." After hanging up with Lisa, Sarah sat in her kitchen surrounded by snow globes and memories. She thought out the quiet life she had built in Austin, peaceful and stable, but sometimes lonely. She thought about the uncertain life Elon was offering, risky and complicated, but full of possibility. She also thought about Maya, who deserved to know her father as more than a distant figure who sent birthday cards and child support checks. Over the next 3 days, Sarah did something she had never done before. She researched Elon Musk like he was a stranger. She read recent articles about his behavior, interviews with Tesla and SpaceX employees, reports about his management style. What she found surprised her. Multiple articles mentioned that Elon had been leaving his offices by 6 o'clock most days for the past few years. His assistant told a reporter that he now required all meetings to have end times and rarely scheduled anything after 5 in the evening. A SpaceX engineer mentioned in an interview that their boss seemed more present, more focused on the people and not just the projects. Could it be true? Could Elon Musk, the ultimate workaholic, have actually learned work-life balance? On Wednesday evening, Maya found Sarah in the kitchen, staring at the empty snow globe from the restaurant. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "If you don't go back to Dad, will you always wonder what would have happened?" Sarah looked at her wise 16-year-old daughter. "Probably. And if you do go back to Dad and it doesn't work out, will you regret trying?" "I don't know. Maybe." Maya sat down across from her mother. "So either way, you might have regrets?" "I suppose so. Then shouldn't you choose the path that might make us happy instead of the path that just keeps us safe?" That night, Sarah barely slept. She kept thinking about Maya's question, about choosing happiness over safety, about opening her heart to possibility instead of protecting it from pain. At 3 in the morning, she got up and walked to Maya's room. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully, curled up with the stuffed elephant Elon had given her for her 8th birthday, one of the few gifts he had remembered to give in person. Looking at Maya, Sarah realized that her daughter had been living with only half a family for 8 years. No matter how hard Sarah had tried to be both mother and father, she couldn't give Maya what Elon could provide if he had really changed. Thursday morning, Sarah made her decision. She called the airline and booked 2 tickets to Los Angeles for the weekend. "We're gonna see Dad?" Maya asked when Sarah told her. "We're going to see if we can be a family again." Maya hugged her mother tightly. "Are you scared?" "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe the best things in life are supposed to be scary." That afternoon, Sarah did something she hadn't done in 8 years. She called Elon directly. His personal number hadn't changed. He answered on the first ring. "Sarah? Hi, Elon. Are you okay? Is Maya okay?" "We're fine. I'm calling because I've made a decision about us." Silence on the other end of the line. Sarah could almost hear Elon holding his breath. And I want to try again. But I have conditions. Anything. We start slow. Dating, not marriage. I want to see how you handle work-life balance when it's not just a dinner conversation but daily reality. Okay, Maya and I keep our house in Austin until we're absolutely sure this is going to work. I'm not uprooting her life again unless I'm certain. That makes perfect sense. And if you slip back into your old patterns, if work becomes more important than family, I'm gone. For good this time. No second chances, no more snow globes, no romantic gestures, just gone forever. Sarah. Elon's voice was quiet but certain. I would rather live alone for the rest of my life than hurt you and Maya again. I've learned what matters most. And it's not rockets or cars or even Mars. It's you. It's our family. Sarah took a deep breath. We'll be in Los Angeles this weekend. I'll pick you up at the airport. No, Sarah said, surprising herself with a smile. We'll meet you at the restaurant. Same table, same time. Let's see if we can create that new memory for the snow globe. After hanging up, Sarah looked at the empty globe sitting on her kitchen counter. This weekend, it would show the beginning of their second chance or be packed away with all the other memories of what might have been. But for the first time in 8 years, Sarah Chen Musk was ready to find out which story would be engraved on the bottom of that glass sphere. She was ready to choose hope over fear, possibility over safety, love over loneliness. She was ready to see if some love stories really do deserve a second chapter. Saturday evening, Sarah and Maya sat at the same corner table in the little Italian restaurant where everything had begun and nearly ended. This time, they arrived together, mother and daughter united in hope and nervousness. He's late, Maya observed, checking her phone. It's 8:05. Sarah felt familiar panic rising in her chest. What if he had forgotten? What if this was just another example of work coming first even now? But at 8:07, Elon rushed through the door, slightly out of breath and carrying a small gift bag. I'm sorry, he said, sliding into his chair across from them. Traffic on the freeway was terrible and I didn't want to text while driving. Sarah realized that the old Elon would have been on his phone during the traffic jam, multitasking and probably making himself even later. This Elon had chosen to sit patiently in his car rather than risk being distracted from safe driving. Hi, Dad, Maya said quietly. Elon's eyes filled with tears. Hi, sweetheart. My goodness, you look so grown up. You're beautiful. For the first few minutes, the conversation felt awkward. 8 years of distance couldn't be bridged with a single dinner. But gradually, they found their rhythm. Elon asked Maya about school, her friends, her plans for the future. He really listened as she told him about making the varsity soccer team and her dream of studying environmental engineering in college. Environmental engineering? Elon said with genuine interest. That's incredible. The world desperately needs people who can solve climate change. Maybe I'll work for Tesla someday. Maya said shyly. Or maybe you'll start a company that puts Tesla out of business by creating something even better. Elon replied with a grin. Maya laughed. Would you be mad if I did that? I'd be proud. Competition makes everyone better. Sarah watched this interaction with amazement. The Elon she had been married to would have immediately started lecturing about Tesla's hiring practices, or launched into a detailed explanation of battery technology. This Elon was content to simply encourage his daughter's dreams without making it about himself. During dinner, Elon's phone buzzed several times on the table. Each time, he glanced at it but didn't pick it up. Aren't you going to answer that? Sarah asked, testing him. It could be important. Is someone dying? Elon asked calmly. I don't know, it might be an emergency. If someone is actually dying, they'll call 911, not me. Everything else can wait until after dinner with my family. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. A knot of tension she had carried for 8 years finally starting to relax. After dinner, they walked to the nearby park where Sarah and Elon used to go on their early dates. Maya ran ahead to try the swings, leaving her parents alone on a wooden bench. She's incredible, Elon said, watching Maya swing higher and higher under the streetlights. You've done an amazing job raising her. We both helped raise her, Sarah said. You were a good father when you were present, Elon. The problem was that you were rarely present. I know, and I'll regret those missed years for the rest of my life. But Sarah, I want to be present now. For everything: soccer games, parent-teacher conferences, teenage drama, college visits. All of it. Sarah studied his face in the dim park lighting. What really changed? What made you finally understand what you were missing? Elon was quiet for a long moment, watching Maya laugh as she swung through the cool evening air. 2 years ago, I was in the hospital with chest pains. Turned out to be just stress and exhaustion. But for about 6 hours, I thought I might be having a heart attack. Sarah's breath caught. You never told me. I didn't tell anyone. But lying in that hospital bed, all I could think about was that I might die. And Maya would barely remember me as anything more than a name on birthday cards. I might die and you would remember me only as the man who broke your heart and wasted our chance at happiness. Elon, I realized I had spent so much time trying to secure humanity's future that I had forgotten to secure my own happiness. What's the point of getting to Mars if you're traveling there alone? Maya called out from the swings. Dad, come push me like you used to. Elon looked at Sarah questioningly. She nodded with a small smile, and he jogged over to Maya. Sarah watched as her ex-husband pushed their daughter on the swings, both of them laughing like they were making up for 8 years of lost time. An hour later, they stood in the hotel lobby facing an awkward moment as they all realized this was goodbye, at least for now. When can I see you again? Elon asked hopefully. We fly back to Austin tomorrow afternoon, Sarah said. But, Maya has spring break next week. Maybe you could come visit us. See our life in Austin. Meet our friends. Experience our normal routine. Elon's face lit up with joy. Really? You'd want me to come? If you can take the time off work, Sarah said carefully. Sarah, I would cancel a rocket launch to come see you and Maya. Please don't cancel any rocket launches, Sarah said quickly, then smiled. Just come when you can. Come as the man you say you've become, not the man you used to be. That night, Sarah and Maya lay in their separate hotel beds, processing the evening. So, Sarah asked, what do you think? I think Dad really has changed, Maya said thoughtfully. He seemed calmer, more focused on us than on his phone or his work. It was just one evening, sweetheart. People can pretend for one evening. Yeah, but Mom, you were different too. What do you mean? You were happier tonight. You smiled more than you have in months. You looked like you did in those early snow globes. Like you were remembering what it felt like to be in love. Sarah considered this. She had felt different tonight. Lighter, more hopeful, like a part of herself that had been sleeping for 8 years was finally waking up. Are you going to marry him again? Maya asked directly. I don't know, maybe. If he proves that tonight wasn't just an act, what would it take to prove that? Sarah thought about the question. Time. Consistency. Choosing us over work not just once but every single day. And if he does that, Sarah reached over to the nightstand and picked up the empty snow globe they had brought from the restaurant. Earlier that evening, after watching Elon push Maya on the swings with such pure joy, she had made a decision about what the globe should represent. If he does that, Sarah said quietly, then maybe we really can have the family we always dreamed of. She handed the globe to Maya. What do you think the engraving should say? Maya held the globe up to the light from the hotel window, studying the 2 tiny figures inside who looked like her parents sharing dinner in hope. March 15, 2024. The day we decided to try again. Sarah smiled. Perfect. The next morning, before they left for the airport, Sarah took out her phone and did something she hadn't done in 8 years. She texted Elon voluntarily. Thank you for last night. See you in Austin next week. Please don't let us down. His response came immediately. I won't. I promise. This time will be different. As their plane lifted off from Los Angeles, Sarah looked down at the sprawling city below. Somewhere in that maze of lights and dreams was the man who had broken her heart 8 years ago, and might just be the man who could heal it now. In her carry-on bag, the snow globe sat safely wrapped, its meaning finally decided. Not an ending this time, but a beginning. Not the conclusion of their love story, but the start of a new chapter. The story of Sarah and Elon Musk was far from over. In fact, after 8 years of mysterious packages and careful self-reflection, it might just be getting started. But that would be a story for future snow globes to tell. Snow globes filled with soccer games and family dinners with kept promises and present fathers. with a love that had learned from its mistakes and grown strong enough to try again. As Austin appeared below them, Sarah squeezed Maya's hand and smiled. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is give your heart a second chance to get love right. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, love learns how to be worthy of that second chance. The mystery finally revealed. For 8 years, Elon Musk sent his ex-wife mysterious packages containing snow globes that told the complete story of their relationship from their first meeting to their painful divorce. Each globe preserved a specific memory with perfect detail, showing that Elon remembered not just the beautiful moments but his failures as a husband. The real purpose behind the gifts was Elon's 8-year journey to become the man Sarah deserved to marry. Each package was proof that he understood what went wrong, remembered every moment he chose work over family, and was working to change. The final package contained his confession, his apology, and his plea for a second chance. Sarah's decision to risk her heart again wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about hope that people can truly change, that love can learn from its mistakes, and that some stories are worth rewriting. The empty snow globe represents their uncertain but hopeful future, waiting to be filled with new memories built on the foundation of lessons learned and promises kept. The greatest mystery wasn't what was in the boxes. It was whether 8 years was enough time for a broken heart to heal, and a workaholic genius to learn that love requires presence, not just passion. That was the end of Sarah and Elon's incredible journey of love, loss, and second chances. Sometimes the most beautiful moments come from learning to forgive and choosing hope over fear. We'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop your location in the comments below. If this tale touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing narratives about real human connections and the power of never giving up on love. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. In a world that can feel divided, we all need reminders that people can change, relationships can heal, and kindness still matters. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, every ending can be a new beginning if we're brave enough to try again.